Where's the bell? Oh. Let's think. Okay. Good evening, class. Welcome to another lecture sponsored by the Pasadena Institute of Divine Metaphysical Research, Incorporated, stated in Daytona Beach, Florida. At this time, I'd like to introduce some of the officers of our school. Our president, Dr. Benin and Lynn Trotter. Our vice president, Dr. David Hayes. And our superintendent, Dr. Donald Bloomfield. Now, this school was founded as a result of a divine vision and revelation given to our founder, Dr. Henry C. Kinley, in year 1930 in Springfield, Ohio. The school was then established in year 1932 in Springfield, Ohio. The corporation moved into a state of California in 1958 and to the state of Florida in 1991 under the direction of Dr. Glenn Kinley. Now, this is a school and this is not a church, nor are we affiliated with any other religious organizations of any kind. At this school, we teach about the true and correct name of our Heavenly Father, Yahweh Elohim Yahshua, and these three are one. Now, Yahweh is spirit, and he chose to symbolize himself as a phenomenal cloud because the cloud is no particular shape and form. To describe his makeup, he chose 9 major attributes, which are intelligence, wisdom, knowledge, love, beauty, justice, foundation, power, and strength. Then Yahweh moved into a superincorporeal shape and form of man known as Yahweh Elohim. And it was in this shape and form that he created the creation, both heaven and earth. He then manifested himself into a specially prepared sacrificial body known as Adam and Yahshua the Messiah. He then went to institute and fulfill the laws and the prophets. Yahweh Elohim Yahshua, these three are one. As it states in Deuteronomy 6 and 4, Hear, O Israel, Yahweh our Elohim is Yahweh in unity. I would now like to draw your attention to this red boundary that surrounds this chart. This boundary shows forth that everything in the universe abides within this red boundary. So it is that everything in the universe abides within the pure spirit state of Yahweh. And this class follows a few aims and objectives in our ultimate goal of fellowship with mankind. And they are as follows. Number 1 is to help you find and know Yahweh our Elohim as he really is and actually exists. 2, to form a nucleus of universal brotherhood of humanity in Yahshua the Messiah without distinction of race, nationality, creed, sex, caste, or color. 3, to investigate the unexplained spirit law or so-called law of nature and the powers latent in man. Number 4 is to encourage and promote the study of the scriptures, comparative religion, psychology, philosophy, modern, practical, and occult science. 5 is to extirpate current superstitions, skepticism, and ignorance. 6, to learn, know, and understand the operation of Yahweh's eternal purpose through dispensations and ages. 7 is to discern and avoid being deceived by Lucifer, the serpent, the devil, or Satan and his demons, operating the mystery of iniquity on earth through the dispensations of time. 8 is to earnestly contend for the common salvation of faith, which was once delivered unto the sons or children of Yahweh. 9 is to make known that Yahweh from the beginning ordained there is no other name given among men whereby man can be saved, save in the name of Yahshua the Messiah. Finally, number 10 is to inherit eternal life now in the kingdom of Yahshua the Messiah, the hope of moral glorification in the new earth state. Now, our watchword is peace, and our slogan is to speak the truth. Our theme is taken from Matthew 14 and 15, which reads, our theme is taken from Matthew 24, 14 to 15. Sorry about that. And it reads, "And this gospel of the kingdom shall be preached in all the world as a witness unto all nations, and then shall the end come, when ye shall therefore see the abomination of desolation, spoken of by Daniel the prophet, stand in the holy place. Whosoever readeth, let him understand." And now, how's everybody doing tonight?
Pretty good.
Nice. Well, for my prayer, I would like to call Dr. Patricia Henderson, and the scripture, which is Jeremiah 31, I would like that read by Dr. Donald Bloomfield. And this black book will be in the back if anybody has any announcements. And please silence all telegrams, cell phones, iPads, you know, the works. Oh, you just want.
Good evening, family. Let's all bow in our spirit and soul and thank Yahweh for giving us the love and understanding and mercy He's already given us. And to continue to give us those things that we really need in these days and times. And that's a double portion of the attributes. And just thank Him for having us, for letting us have one another to talk to and be with. That's a blessing. And we ask these things in the Son's name, Yahshua the Messiah. Let us all say, hallelujah.
Mhm. Good evening, family. Welcome back to another lecture. Good to see everybody. The moderator has chosen Jeremiah 31, and I will be inserting the true and correct names. Jeremiah 31. At the same time, saith Yahweh, will I be the Elohim of all the families of Israel, and they shall be my people. Thus saith Yahweh, the people which were left of the sword found grace in the wilderness, even Israel, when I went to cause him to rest. Yahweh hath appeared of old unto me, saying, Yea, I have loved thee with an everlasting love. Therefore, loving kindness have I drawn thee. Again, I will build thee, and thou shalt be built, O Virgin of Israel. Thou shalt again be adorned by thy tabrets, and shalt go forth in the dances of them that make merry. Thou shalt yet plant vines upon the mountains of Samaria. The planters shall plant and shall eat them as common things. For there shall be a day that the watchmen upon the Mount Ephraim shall cry, Arise ye, and let us go up to Zion unto the Yahweh our Elohim. For thus saith Yahweh, Sing with gladness for Jacob, and shout among the chief of the nations. Publish ye, praise ye, and say, O Yahweh, save thy people, the remnant of Israel. Behold, I will bring them from the north country, and gather them from the coast of the earth, and with them the blind and the lame, the women with child, and her that travaileth with child together. A great company shall return hither. They shall come with weeping, and with supplications will I lead them. I will cause them to walk by rivers of waters in a straight way, wherein they shall not stumble. For I am a father to Israel, and Ephraim is my firstborn. Hear the word of Yahweh, O ye nations, and declare it in the isles afar off, and say, He that scattereth Israel, will gather him, and keep him as a shepherd doth his flock. For Yahweh hath redeemed Jacob, and ransomed him from the hand of him that was stronger than he. Therefore they shall come and sing in the height of Zion, and shall flow together to the goodness of Yahweh, for wheat and for wine and for oil, and for the young of the flock and of the herd. And their soul shall be as watered garden, and they shall not sorrow any more at all. Then shall the virgin rejoice in the dance, both young men and old together. For I will return their mourning into joy, and I will comfort them and make them rejoice from their sorrow. And I will satiate the soul of the priest with the fatness, and my people shall be satisfied with my goodness, saith Yahweh. Thus saith Yahweh, a voice was heard in Ramah, lamentation and bitter weeping. Rahel, weeping for her children, refused to be comforted for her children because they were not. Thus saith Yahweh, refrain from thy voice from weeping, and thine eyes from tears, for thy work shall be rewarded, saith Yahweh, and they shall come again from the land of the enemy. And there is hope in thine end, saith Yahweh, that thy children shall come again to their own border. I have surely heard Ephraim bemoaning himself thus. Thou hast chastised me, and I was chastised, as a bullock unaccustomed to the yoke. Turn thou me, and I shall be turned, for thou art Yahweh my Elohim. Surely after that I was turned, I repented, and after that I was instructed. I smote upon my thigh. I was ashamed, yea, even confounded, because I did bear the reproach of my youth. Is Ephraim my dear son? Is he a pleasant child? For since I spake against him, I do earnestly remember him still. Therefore my bowels are troubled for him. I will surely have mercy upon him, saith Yahweh. Set thee up waymarks, make thee high heaps. Set thine heart toward the highway, even the way which thou wentest. Turn again, O Virgin of Israel. Turn again to thy cities. How long wilt thou go about, O that backsliding daughter? For the Yahweh Elohim hath created a new thing in the earth. A woman shall compass a man. Thus saith Yahweh Elohim of hosts, the Elohim of Israel, as yet they shall use this speech in the land of Judah and in the cities thereof, when I shall bring again their captivity. Yahweh bless thee, O habitation of justice and mountain of holiness. And there shall dwell in Judah itself, and in all the cities thereof together, husbandmen, and they that go forth with flocks. For I have satiated the weary soul, and have replenished every sorrowful soul. Upon this I awaked, and beheld, and my sleep was sweet unto me. Behold, the days come, saith Yahweh, that I will sow the house of Israel and the house of Judah with the seed of man and with the seed of beast. And it shall come to pass that like as I have watched over them, to pluck up and to break down and to throw down and to destroy and to afflict, so will I watch over them to build and to plant, saith Yahweh. In those days they shall say no more, the fathers have eaten a sour grape, and the children's teeth are set on edge. But every one shall die for his own iniquity. Every man that eateth the sour grape, his teeth shall be set on edge. Behold, the days come, saith Yahweh, that I will make a new covenant with the house of Israel and with the house of Judah, not according to the covenant that I made with their fathers in that day I took them by the hand to bring them out of the land of Egypt, which my covenant they break, although I was a husbandman unto them, saith Yahweh. But this shall be the covenant that I will make with the house of Israel. After those days, saith Yahweh, I will put my law in their inward parts and write it in their hearts, and will be their Elohim, and they shall be my people. And they shall teach no more every man his neighbor, and every man his brother, saying, Know Yahweh, for they shall all know me, from the least of them unto the greatest of them, saith Yahweh. For I will forgive their iniquity, and I will remember their sin no more. Thus saith Yahweh, which giveth the sun for a light by day, and the ordinance of the moon and of the stars for a light by night, which divideth the sea when the waves thereof roar. Yahweh of hosts is his name. If those ordinances depart from before me, saith Yahweh, then the seed of Israel also shall cease from being a nation before me forever. Thus saith Yahweh, if heaven above can be measured, and the foundations of the earth searched out beneath, I will also cast off all the seed of Israel for all that they have done, saith Yahweh. Behold, the days come, saith Yahweh, that the city shall be built to Yahweh from the tower of Hananeel unto the gate of the corner. And the measuring line shall yet go forth over against it upon the hill Gereb, and shall compass about to Goath. And the whole valley of the dead bodies and of the ashes, and all the fields unto the brook of Kidron, unto the corner of the horse gate toward the east, shall be holy unto Yahweh. It shall not be plucked up, nor thrown down more forever. And that was Jeremiah 31. Thank you.
All right, I'd like to thank Dr. Bloomfield and Dr. Henderson for the scripture and prayer. And starting this evening class off, I'd like my first speaker to be our Vice President, Dr. David Hayes. Yeah.
On the tie. Other way. I got you.
See, that's the one.
Good evening, class. I'm happy to be here with you all and to give a reasonable testimony of the things that I've come to understand of Yahweh. And I enjoyed the scripture lesson very much. But as I was sitting in my seat, listening to the moderator go through the moderation, I was thinking, and even before that, when I was as I was getting ready, I was just thinking about the origins of this class and how the moderator stated that this school is the result of a divine vision and a divine revelation given to the founder, Dr. Henry Clifford Kinley, and how the mystery of Yahweh is locked. It's called a mystery for a reason, and it's referred to a mystery many times throughout the Bible, that even the Bible itself being a collection of books written by those inspired by the inspiration of Yahweh is locked in 7 Sabbath seals. So even the Bible itself, which is, you could say, is the written, revealed will of Yahweh, is still, it was written, it's called the written revealed will, in the sense that those who wrote Yahweh revealed himself to them. But for us who have not come to the full understanding of Yahweh, it still necessitates that reading. What I'm trying to say is, we're just reading, just because we have the written revealed will of Yahweh and we read it, doesn't mean that you can understand it. That the mystery, and according to the purpose of Yahweh, it's remained in the sense that, because Yahshua the Messiah fulfilled all the things that prophesied his coming and who he is, and which is Yahweh. And the day of Pentecost is where we refer to as it's the day of Yahweh. It's still going on to this day. that on many of my lectures, I talk about how, in accordance to the purpose, the day of Yahweh has come. That in the sense that we're in the resurrection, or where we have the sun back up. But as my own testimony, when I was born and grew up, I didn't know anything about Yahweh, in the sense that, so there was still necessitate a preaching of the gospel, that there was the mystery. Yahweh has held things in store to this late date, that the job that we have to do is to come learn of Yahweh to our might, to our capacity, and share it, and not to convert anybody, but to share freely and to give freely what we've come to understand. So that was what I'm trying to get at, is that there's still a mystery, and Yahweh is hidden from the wisdom of man and unto the meek of the world, so to speak. That we're just a bunch of, I'm just a guy who works at Walmart as a service technician, trying to learn how to, change oils and tires. But Yahweh saw fit to reveal his will to me, these profound, that I can read this Bible as seemingly as a nobody, and as far as the world can look at it, and understand something about Yahweh. But it necessitated, what I'm trying to get at is that it necessitated a vision.
Right.
And so, and if it wasn't for this class, which is the result, as I started to say, as being a result of a vision and revelation given to our founder, Henry Clifford Kinley, that we would not have this chart. And so much of my understanding is the result of the labors of you all in this class, because even though we have this chart, and how skillfully it's been put together, how profoundly it's been put together, but if I came in here and none of you taught me how to read this thing, I still wouldn't make heads or tails of what's going on. As that this chart is a pictorial illustration of what is written in the Bible, but it is laid out. It isn't laid out. It's laid out in a skillful way, and in a pattern, so you can start to see the purpose of Yahweh being unveiled. So, and I'll stop there for now, and I'll go into that. Yahweh revealed to the founder, the way the founder wrote on this chart, is that Yahweh is spirit, manifesting within the cloud, symbolizing eternity, Jerusalem above. So right here is depicting that Yahweh is symbolized as a cloud, and a cloud can be a symbol of eternity, or it's without beginning, without end. And so this is the eternal, if I can use words, state of Yahweh. This is the Yahweh without limits and without bounds, the all in all, through all, and everything that exists inside inside of Yahweh, or in this cloud, as the moderator stated, that everything on this chart abides within this red boundary. Everything in the universe, invisible and visible, abides within the spirit of Yahweh. Intelligence, wisdom, knowledge, love, beauty, justice, foundation, power, and strength. These attributes describe the makeup of Yahweh. They describe the substance that this cloud is, because this cloud is a phenomenal cloud. We understand a cloud by atmospherical clouds because we have them, but those are made of natural of gases. This cloud I'm talking about is, you cannot see it with your 20/20 because it is spirit. So, but Yahweh being in this state, and when you read the textbook and lectures of the founder, he described that this state that man hasn't seen Yahweh at any time, that Yahweh is inscrutable and incomprehensible in this state, because no man has seen Yahweh at any time. So, but Yahweh did not stay in this state. Yahweh declared a purpose within himself to bring forth his son, Yahweh Elohim here, the Lamb's Book of Life. This is Yahweh Elohim this is the Word and the Son. And this is the first fruit of the Spirit. This is the only begotten of the Father, because Yahweh only had one Son. Begotten means of the same substance. So this one here is made of, and that's why if you come up here and you look at this chart, that you have on the head region is intelligence flanked by wisdom and knowledge, love, beauty, and justice in the chest region, foundation, power, strength in the paps region. So now it's showing that the same stuff, or the spiritual attribute, the divine attributes of Yahweh are now manifested in a super incorporeal shape and form of a man. They are now in a particular shape and form. And this pattern, or this form, this is Yahweh in his working clothes, and he created the creation. And right here it says creation by the pattern. And what pattern are we talking about? Well, right here, and to be specific, is the pattern of the tabernacle. And so this tabernacle, right here, what you have illustrated here is that you have the outer gate, and there's a veil. It was made blue, purple, and scarlet. And then when you go through this gate, you go into the outer court. Or the court roundabout. The outer court would be everything outside of the tabernacle. So, which these things are important to keep them where they go. And so then there you have so you go through this gate to the court roundabout. You find the altar of sin sacrifice. Then there is the altar, the brazen laver. Then there is a how do I word that? A covered I don't know if tent is the right word, but there's an outer gate and then there's a tent or a sanctuary within it. And this would be and so this is showing the exterior of it, but inside of it would be the holy place. You have the table of shewbread. These are all the different vessels in it. I'll go back into those in a moment. But you have the table of shewbread, the 7-branch lampstand, altar of incense, and then so inside this tent are two compartments, if I can word it that way, that there are two rooms being divided by another veil, likened unto the veil here, made blue, purple, and scarlet. And then the high priest, when he would officiate, would go into the most holy place, where and he'd have to go around through the back to get to the most holy place. So inside the most holy place is where you would find the Ark of the Covenant, which was made of two cherubims or angels with their wings overshadowing the mercy seat. And they so that was I won't say long, but what I'm getting at is that this pattern of the tabernacle is made of most holy place, a holy place, and a court roundabout. So there are three portions or compartments or divisions between the sanctuary, this tabernacle. And so this threefold pattern is significant because it shows it shows the supernal nature of Yahweh. And what that just means, in the Bible, you read it as the Godhead. And what it means in simple terms is that it is the how do I say this? It is the supernal nature is just how Yahweh exists at all times, being the Father, the Word, and the Holy Spirit. And these three are one, likened unto how there is the most holy place, court round about. And these three make one tabernacle. So what I'm getting at is that this pattern that Elohim transforms into or manifests as, he transforms back into it. And it's showing, then you can also correlate it that just as it's threefold, that this is the son or the man of Yahweh. And man is made as a head region, a chest region, and an abdominal region. And like so, proving the supernal nature of Yahweh. These three make one human body. And that supernal is just, it's just trying to describe how these three states are simultaneously existing at all times. That Yahweh never, that whenever Yahweh when he that Yahweh, this in this form or this state of existence, Yahweh is without limits and bounds, but he chose to put limits and bounds upon himself as the Son or the Word of Yahweh, as Elohim. But it didn't take all of Yahweh to make up this. So there is still, even though Yahweh gave all power, all glory, and all dominion to be one with his Son, there's still a portion of Yahweh. There is still Yahweh in his abstract state or his totality. And it's showing a source of where all these things are coming from. Excuse me. So with Elohim, as I was saying, that it takes a vision and revelation to see and understand these things. So if we get and can we get well, let's stop before I go there. If you go into Romans 1:19 and 20, can we get that for me?
Romans 1:19. Because that which may be known of Yahweh is manifest in them,
Right,
for Yahweh has showed it unto them.
right,
For the invisible things of him from the creation of the world are clearly seen, being understood by the things that are made.
right. So what things were made? Yahweh made, and I'm going to move fast through these, but you have the first day being the light from the darkness with the twilight in the midst. The second day is the waters above the firmament, the waters beneath the firmament, and then the firmament in the midst. The third day, waters rolled back, the dry land appeared, and seeds of vegetation go forth into fruition. Fourth day, you have the sun, moon, and stars are placed in the heavens. Seasons are held in store. Fifth day, you have the bird kingdom, the fish kingdom, and the insect kingdom. And then the sixth day, you have the beasts of the field, the great creeping things, and then Yahweh's, I like to refer to it as Yahweh's pinnacle of his creation, or the crown jewel that is that man was placed in the garden, or man was formed in the garden, that Yahweh simply wrapped himself, as the moderator stated, into a coat of flesh and called their name Adam. And I was thinking about this last week, how it's so Yahweh created all these things, but he gave dominion and gave dominion of his creation to the man. And so I'll finish. I'll do it this way. So then man was placed in the garden, and then he rested on the seventh day, the Sabbath. That's right. You have right here. So now you have all the things. So we said, as we read, that the invisible things of Yahweh. Go ahead and read it again, Uncle Donald.
Romans 1:20. For the invisible things of him from the creation of the world are clearly seen, being understood by the things that are made, even his eternal power and supernal nature, so that they are without excuse.
All right, so these invisible things of him, we can now understand who Yahweh is and how he exists. And so to use some examples and to try to be quick about it, is that you had seeds of vegetation and they go forth into fruition here. So the significance of it, at least for me, what was profound and awesome is that the idea, the concept of a death, burial, and a resurrection, and how even the number 7 denotes perfection. But you can't, it could be hard to convey these things of Yahweh when he's abstract in this state. But Yahweh, because Yahweh created seeds of vegetation and brought forth them, they were brought forth into their perfection. Now you see here that man being placed in a garden and all of the fruits, the flowers, all the green things that grow, they're manifested. So you can understand that just as there is an apple tree or even the fruits of the vine, like grapes, that Yahweh is the tree of life, because we understand that trees are life. They yield life-giving fruit. So then that's one small way where you can understand something about the invisible living Yahweh, the living Elohim here, that he's the first fruit of the tree. That there's a reason why it says that he's the first cause of all creation. And it's because it's shown that he's the first fruit, or he's the seed of all life that comes forth. So another example is that you have the sun placed in the heavens. And it's not a long shot, it's not a stretch to understand that Yahweh, what is in, let's get John 1:1, please. So again, keep in your mind what I'm looking at is, for the visible things of Yahweh are clearly seen because they're made manifest by the things that were made. Go ahead.
John 1:1. In the beginning was the Word.
So in the beginning of his vision, go ahead.
And the Word was with Yahweh,
Right,
and the Word was Yahweh.
right.
The same was in the beginning with Yahweh.
So even again, so good to double down on the idea, the principle of a seed, right? That in its perfection, you have. So the question is, like, did the chicken come first or was it the egg? Correct. And so, and you can see that all these things were made in their perfection, or in their strength, in their adult states. Right, exactly. And so you can, again, to understand. So what I'm trying to get at is how in John 1:1 it says that the Word was with Yahweh and the Word was Yahweh. So when you have an oak tree or even an apple tree and it brings forth apples, when those apples fall away through the process of how apple trees reproduce, that those seeds are then buried. But the seed of the apple tree, it even though it may not look like an apple tree at that point, everything that apple seed is an apple tree. So you can understand that you can see the seed coming forth from this tree of life here. That again, the being the first cause of all creation, or the first fruits of this tree of life. This is another small example of how you take how understanding Romans 1:19 and 20. How can you take it out of the Bible and apply it to your life? It's because, and this is kind of my testimony in when I'm trying to to make my own testimony that these things I didn't know. I didn't grow up reading a Bible. God was so far from me, and I didn't know that I was looking for him. But then I come to a place where I can see what this chart is trying to illustrate. Anyway, go ahead and continue with John 1:1, please.
John 1 and 3. All things were made by him,
Right. So all things were made by him, as we said.
and without him was not anything made that was made.
Right.
In him was life, and the
Right.
life was the light of men.
Right. So now you can see in him was light. So he's trying to convey something that this one here is light, but you don't have, if Yahweh didn't create light, you wouldn't be able to make that correlation. If we understand, like I can go turn the lights off and we could be in dark. So we understand by the things that were made. So in him was light. Go ahead and continue.
And the light shineth in darkness, and the darkness hindered it not.
Right. And Yahweh placed us a great celestial body in our solar system called the sun that gives us light. It also gives us warmth. It's understood that if the earth was a mile too far from the sun, we could all freeze to death, or too close. I mean, I'm just, being rough with it, rough with the science. But what I'm saying is that this creation has been so finely tuned that it takes out the coincidence of it. Because you can't take, it doesn't matter how many, if I take a bucket of bolts and scrap metal, and it doesn't, a hurricane, doesn't matter how long it spins, it doesn't build a 747. Because a 747 requires fine tuning, or we'd all be,
Don't let Boeing do it.
So we said a couple weeks ago that it takes more faith to think that this creation happened on accident, right, by random. That something randomly came from nothing, and it's impossible. So what I'm saying, and then so to get back what I was trying to say, that we have a sun, and even other cultures where that Yahweh didn't reveal himself to, but still Yahweh abode in man, because we understand that heaven is in the man, that Yahweh is in every man, right? But even then, Yahweh not revealing to him that you had cultures like Egypt that revered the sun, and they made an idol. Again, it's erroneous, but they had, I always mix it up if it's Horus or Osiris, but there's, or Amun Ra. I think that it is Amun Ra. But anyway, the point is that you have that they understand the magnificence and the power of the sun, and that something created us, and there's something in man that deserves to be revered. That again, so, it's because it's this one here, and he's invisible to us, but we can understand by the things that are made. So even with the ark, how the ark was constructed with one window, because it allows illumination inside this ark. So you can take the ark being an upper deck, a middle deck, and a lower deck, that this ark was so conveniently made threefold. So you can line up that as the Father, the Word, and the Holy Spirit. That this supernal nature is being manifested in this ark, that all life that was to be saved went back into this ark. This is known as the ark of safety. But this you can line it up there where this was the ark of life here, or the ark of safety where all life came out of it. And so this is pointing to, this is a type and a shadow. It's glorious and had power, because this is what saved mankind. Mankind, anything that wasn't in here was utterly destroyed. So go ahead and continue, John 1:1.
John 1 and 6. There was a man sent from Yahweh whose name was John. The same came for a witness, to bear witness of the light, that all men through him might believe.
Right.
He was not that light, but was sent to bear witness of that light. That was the true light, which lighteth every man that cometh into the world.
Right. And that, so we'll stop there. So even with the creation, so when Yahweh created all these things, when he finished working, he said, he looked back at his creation, said that it is good and it is very good. And then we asked the question, why? Because it shows forth who all the creation is good in the sense that it's all in its strength and its power and its perfection. As I was saying with the example of, you have the fruit, all the vegetation is in its power and its strength. That the chickens are there. They're in their adult state. They're in their power. The sun is in its zenith, casting no types and no shadows, because it's showing forth who that mighty one is in the garden. That it's not a coincidence that Yahweh gave dominion of his creation to his son, being Adam. And now it's being made manifest in the garden what happened in heaven. How when he brought forth his son, or when you had a son manifested in the cloud, that he gave all power, all glory, and dominion to his son here. So now you can have it where the kingdom right here come in heaven or on earth, just as it is in heaven. And so what I was thinking about was how even with a snake or a serpent, right? So we understand that everything Yahweh created was good and there was no evil in it. Yahweh is not the father of lies, and he is not the father of negativity, of evil. But you have the serpent who beguiles and deceives the woman. Now, it wasn't a snake. It was a fallen angel, Lucifer, his name being changed to Satan, which means adversary. So he lost his name. His name being Lucifer means son of the morning, which is the name of glory and honor. And he lost that, again, being changed to adversary. And so, but we're using, again, there's a mystery going on. And just as I made the attempt to show how Yahweh made these things so you can understand and see him, he who is invisible, you can't see him with your eyes. So the same thing happens even with Satan, because Satan is also a incorporeal body. That angels don't have flesh, bone, and blood. They are spiritual creatures, and they are also invisible. So when he describes Satan as a snake, the snake is not evil. Snakes are not evil, but he's describing a snake and the attributes it has, that it's slow bellied, which means that when you teach someone the truth and they're slow to hear the truth, how does he say? He says, you will eat dust all the days of your, this is when Satan is being cast out, cursed. Thank you. When Satan's being cursed, he's saying, and he's condemning him, just as he was condemned to and chained in ethereal darkness here. So this is in heaven. There isn't a physical prison somewhere that Yahweh keeps Satan at. This is a state of existence, darkness. It's not, darkness isn't negative. Well, it's because darkness is Yahweh's secret chamber. But it's negative to Satan because he's locked in it, and it's as punishment. Anyway, so just as he is punished by being, and right here you have immersed in ethereal darkness, he's chained in everlasting darkness. So then it's being manifest here and as Dr. Ward was helping me out, is that when Satan is being, or the serpent is being cursed, saying that all the days of your life you will eat dust, the dust of the earth. So it's showing that that in these plates there's a death, burial, resurrection. Satan never gets out because a snake isn't upright where like man is. So he's always eating the dust of the earth. So all the way down until the end, till the end of the creation. And so if you follow this all the way down, you have the lake of fire here. So a snake, and we said earlier this week too, that a serpent or a snake has a forked tongue. And what that means is that his tongue is not unified. It can speak, he can double talk. He can tell you one thing over here and tell you another thing over here. So it's showing that there's not a unity, it's a separation, just like, so. So to get off that for a moment, that even with, so as I was saying that the invisible things of Yahweh are clearly seen, understood by the things that are made, that Elohim his name was spelt out around the banners of Israel, or around the tabernacle. You had E for the eagle. So Yahweh isn't like a god of eagles or an eagle god like Egypt has, but the banner of the eagle is symbolizing that there's a lot of things you can unpack with these things. Eagles they're birds of prey, and they have excellent eyesight is their primary way of how they hunt. So you can draw out the principle, divine principle, that Yahweh is the all-seeing eye because of an eagle. But eagles are also, if you look across history and across cultures, that eagles they're majestic, they're regal, they're symbols of regality, of kings. It is in sense the same way that if you look at the beasts of the field, the lion is the king of beasts. In a way, you can look at eagles being the king of the birds. Or even so, let's get in. I hope I don't get too spread out. In Genesis, I think it's in Genesis 2 when he says that he placed the garden eastward. And can we read that, please? This is something else I've been thinking about.
Genesis 2:7. And Yahweh formed man of the dust of the ground, and
Right.
breathed into his nostrils the breath of life,
Right.
and man became a living soul.
So that's what we got going on right here. That when Yahweh created man, he created him a living soul. Go ahead.
And Yahweh Elohim planted a garden eastward in Eden.
Right. So now the garden is typifying this state here, the garden or the kingdom of Yahweh here. So just as Yahweh created a kingdom in heaven, he created a kingdom on earth. And like I said, you have kingdom right here. So you can liken unto, or Eden is a kingdom of sorts, or it's typifying heaven. Continue.
And there he put the man whom he had formed.
Right. So he placed man in heaven or in the kingdom here, right?
Mhm.
And so then you have the purpose starts in a departure from the garden where this state of existence or the kingdom on earth, man has been, as the world knows it, man has expelled out of it, and they can't enter back in because it's guarded by the warrior archangel Michael with a flaming sword, that none can enter back in here, right? And again, there's a lot of things to unpack, but so you fast forward it where Yahshua Messiah is fulfilling all things, and he's essentially he's using the keys of the kingdom, unlocking them for mankind. It reads, and I don't know where this one is at, but once I read it, I never forgot it. But it says, calling a ravenous bird from the east. So then you can take it. So Isaiah 46, since we have it, let's read it. (46 and 9).
Isaiah 46:9.
Right.
Remember the former things of old. I am Yahweh,
Remember the former things of old. Go ahead.
and there's none else.
Right.
I am Yahweh, and there's none like me.
Right.
Declaring the end from the beginning and from ancient times as things that are not yet done.
Right. And that's what he's talking about here is that. Go ahead.
Saying, my counsel shall stand.
Right.
And I will do all my pleasures.
Right.
Calling a ravenous bird from the east the man that executeth my counsel from a far country.
And so when I stopped there, so when I looked up like ravenous, it just means hungry. And so if you look birds of prey, you know, it ain't pretty for the squirrel. But that's not the point that I'm getting at. What I'm saying is that all he's describing is like, because I thought raven, when I first read that when I was in class, ravenous, I think a raven. And it's like, no, is what he's talking about, what they're describing is an eagle, is a ravenous bird from the east. So then I made the connection. Yahweh, when I understood. So then that the E for the eagle, because he's, as all these things I said, he's the king of, you know, so calling go ahead and read it again.
Isaiah 46:11, calling a ravenous bird from the east.
From the east. So the east is now it's a callback to that to the sun. Exactly. It's not a coincidence that the sun rises in the east. And it's not a coincidence that when Yahweh created the garden to put the man into it, that it was placed in the east. Because all these things are showing that the east, the sunrise is here, is in heaven here. So calling a ravenous bird from the east, it's describing the spirit of Yahweh. It's not just a dove that Yahweh's spirit is described as, but he's also an eagle. He's also a lion, a lamb, all these things. For the invisible things of Yahweh are clearly seen and understood by the things that are made.
Very good.
That L for the lion, for the king of the beasts, because Yahweh with a mighty shout and a roar brought forth that John on the Isle of Patmos described that he heard the voice of many thunders. That when you hear a lion, and this is another thing that so we always teach that every 7 years a lion has to be put in a pit, and then there was people who disputed that. So me being one who, okay, well, does that, you know, is it true or is it not? Now, I'm not going to say I'm not discrediting what Glenn Kinley said, but what I did find in my homework is that the decibels is just the measurement of sound waves, and that it is true that a lion's roar has the capacity to shatter glass. And when I read that, no, I don't know, you know, I don't know if zoologists, did he mean every zoologist across the world has to put every lion in there? I don't know. And I'm not going to say that I know that. But what I do know is I found out that the lion has the capacity to shatter glass. So it made it, what he said, I don't know, understand the entirety of it, but it wasn't wrong with what he said, that a lion has the mighty roar of a lion has the power to shatter glass. So, but the point of it isn't about lions and zoos, but the point of it is the principle of it. And so I don't ever want to lose the whole point of, you know, what are we trying to understand? Something we're trying to understand something about these divine truths and divine principles. So you can take Yahweh, who's seemingly far from us, and bring him out of the sky, out of the Bible, and into our day-to-day lives. So again, and I wanted to, I'll finish here. So lion being, Elohim's name being spelled, E for the eagle, L for the lion. The lion is the king of beasts. So it's signifying or showing how this is the Yahweh is the king of kings, that all governments rest upon his shoulders. That and there's another one of my favorite. This is in Proverbs 8, I believe, and we're not going to get it because I'm trying to move. But it says and this is another one that it meant a lot to me when I read it, because I understood that he said, by me, kings reign and princes decree justice. So now I'm not saying that governments across the world are there's corruption in them, but man has an innate desire. There is a semblance of order from one end of the earth to the other. Like there's not just, you know what I mean? Like we're not all cultures, and to some degree, we're not just blowing up each other year by year. Like what I'm saying is that there is a overwhelming sense of justice and order that man maintains, and it's all from him. So it's showing that it's not just you got to go to church to find Jesus, or be in this school to know that you're Yahweh. But every man is Yahweh. That this spirit of Yahweh is not far from us. That he's in every man, and all the good things that we have in the world are of Yahweh. like a sense of justice. And even if it's shoddy at best, it's, it's still good for what it's for. So anyway, O for the ox, because why? Because the ox is a beast of burden. And it's shown that this one here took upon burdens of, this one here, Yahshua the Messiah, being the true sacrifice, took upon him his own shoulders, likened unto an ox, with the yoke upon his upon him, that he wasn't distracted. He was focused, and to fulfill his Father's work. So that so again, I keep reiterating. I hope I'm making my point that to understand the invisible things of Yahweh, this one here, who abides within you, Yahweh did the works and took the works, the law that was against us, the Mosaic law, away from us. So he was likened unto he is our beast of burden. And then there's the banner of the man showing forth Elohim here. So all these things, these banners, just another small example of how it's these things that were made that we were intimate with, we're familiar with. They point and they show where he is or what he is. You can understand who. No other religion has that. No other religion teaches you the divine reality of your creator and yourself being one. So what I want to get at is now Yahweh described himself as a lion here. So it's easy to see. Okay, thank you. And I'll end on this. That again, the snake isn't evil, but the attributes Yahweh is trying to convey, because he's trying to convey spiritual things, that the snake or the serpent is more subtle than any beast in the field. That this one, and the point isn't about watching out for snakes, which you should if you're going hiking, but it's about to watch out this snake here in the bushes, so the proverbial bushes that's hidden in plain sight, that can strike you with and kill you with venom. But Yahweh also described Satan as a lion, because he asked Satan, "Where have you been?" And he said, "Roaming to and fro as a lion, seeking whom I may devour." So again, my point is just saying that, these things, it depends on what you're looking at and what you're trying to express. So I'll end with, again, these things they're awesome and they're profound. And I'm grateful to have the opportunity. First off, I'm grateful to have a place where I come to learn these things to start off, because I didn't know any of these things. I was as though it's a popular one, as a lost ball in high weeds. And so I'm grateful to have a place where I could have learned these things, because they have changed my life. It brought into reality with the statement of when the founder in the school was accused of being a cult and brainwashing people, and he says you could use a good brainwash, and I definitely needed a good brain because of the filthiness, things that you pick up from the world. But I'm grateful to also have a place where we can cultivate the things that are good in ourselves first and in each other. So in some sense, we can bring into reality on just as Adam kept the garden dressed, that we can be gardeners as well, spiritually. So again, cutting away the things that are not of our Father, and watering and feeding and nourishing the things that are good in each other, in ourselves and in each other, that we are strong, we are better and stronger together. And that's always my main objective is unity, you know, because a house that's divided cannot stand. And that is Satan's main trick that he uses, or his strength, is to divide and conquer. And you can see that in throughout history, men who love to shed blood is how nations have been conquered. It's a common strategy: divide and conquer your enemy. So I'm glad I have a place. I appreciate all of you. I love you all. Thank you for your patience with me over the years. Thank you for your attention. And thank you, Mr. Moderator, for this opportunity. May Yahweh continue to bless you.
All right. I hope everybody's enjoying class thus far. I looked in the book and I didn't see any announcements. Does anybody have any announcements? Once, twice? All right. All right. Dr. Holly Hoadley has an announcement. There you are.
Thank you. I'll take a hug.
Yeah.
Good evening, family. Sorry, 1 second. I just wanted to say thank you so much to everyone that helped with Evelyn's baby shower. To Caleb for getting ice, and Danielle Trotter for helping me set up tables, and Nicole for helping, and I wouldn't have been able to pull it off without this lovely woman right here. So thank you, Lisa. No, but my daughter had a few words. She said, I really appreciate everything that everyone did for me and everything that I received, and even just showing up. And that really means a lot to me. So thank you all very much.
All right. So without further ado, I'd like to call on my final speaker for this evening's class, Dr. Barry Ward.
Sorry. Look up this again. There you go.
Thank you. Is that good? All right. All right. Thank you for your patience and the technical assistance. I thoroughly enjoyed the first speaker. There were good foundation has been laid. And Lynn, if you could get Genesis 3:14, please. So one of the things that he said, it was just kind of slipped in because there's so much information, you know, it's just, you almost like roll and roll and roll. So sometimes you have to put like a chapter heading or something like that, and to really, like, it's a really important thing. And one of the things that he said was that when talking about this creation coming in, he mentioned the word fine tuning. I don't know if anybody caught on that. And that is actually huge for me personally. This is my testimony, is that it's huge. So David, when you said that fine tuning, that's kind of a key thing. I'm trying to get a hold of a gentleman that has a large organization. He's a graduate of Cambridge University. He's got his doctorate there in science, and he is a believes in intelligent design. So he doesn't know about Yahweh, but he knows that there has to be a creator. There has to be a divine intelligence, is that they would go, because of this fine tuning. Because when the astrophysicists, who are just kind of materialists, if you will, and the cosmologists who study the origin of the universe and the Big Bang and so on, one of the gaps there that they cannot explain is the fine tuning. How is it that, just like he was saying, now, obviously that's a huge exaggeration there in terms of, but 1 mile one way or another, you know, but the principle is totally correct, is that if, for instance, there wasn't you know, lead and iron in the core of the earth, and if the moon was further away, then the magnetic pole would not be stable on the earth, and if the distance from the sun was just a little bit off, and this and that, there wouldn't be life. There would not be life there. So all of those, you know, the evidence is, there's a preponderance of evidence leading to the inescapable conclusion that there must in fact be. And really all of the atheists now, the scientist atheists, you know, the materialists and so on, even they are forced to admit that that particular part of the cosmogony is missing in their understanding of how, when, and where the universe was created. So I think that is something huge. And then the other thing is too, that they can't really understand and have no, and he used the analogy here of, what was it, you know, if 100 monkeys typing out stuff. Oh, that's right. If he took it, so that was his analogy. So an analogy is something that points to a principle in the same way that a metaphor and a simile are allegorical too. And indeed, we teach that the whole universe is you know, points back to spiritual principles. But again, if you took 1,000 monkeys and each one had a typewriter and they were and you gave them 1,000 years, which we can't say 1,000,000, you know, because certain ones, that was at some point there was a group there that you know, well, Dad said you could, so I use 1,000 because that is in the Bible. But when you do the math, it comes out to it's 1,000,000. So, I mean, you know, it's, but the principle, I understand what he was saying when he said some of these different things. But again, you know, not wanting to misuse any of that stuff. So, so that, the other thing I was going to say, okay, so one is the cosmogony, the fine tuning. That word fine tuning is very, very important if you come to a scientist. And the other thing is abiogenesis. In other words, life coming forth from inorganic matter. In other words, how was it that just water and air and rock created an amoeba? What was the mechanism? Because we know that how an amoeba can create another amoeba, and that amoeba might be slightly different, you know, because there is such a thing as genetic plasticity or elasticity. You have, you know, within the species, you know, without creating a whole nother species. And that's why David can be taller than I am, or, you know, or this or that, or I could be, you know, shorter, or what have you. We all have our characteristics, but it's all within. He's a human, she's a human, he's a, you know, we're all still human, you know. Some have darker skin than others. So we're all humankind. So, but again, this abiogenesis, how was it that, and even if you get a shock from, from a lightning strike, there's still no mechanism there. So those are gaps in their understanding, to say nothing about the fossil record and things of that nature. So there is mankind, as we get towards the eschatological end of what was cosmologically created, because the end was declared from the beginning. And that's a biblical principle, and so on, but it also manifests in various things. So at any rate, let's just go ahead, if you could, please. I made a comment to David while he was up here about Lucifer or Satan. And Lynn, if you could read what the Bible says about that.
Genesis 3:14.
Thank you.
And Yahweh Elohim said unto the serpent, because thou hast done this, thou art cursed above all cattle.
Okay, there you go. There's that word. So he was cursed. Why? Because he beguiled the woman. He beguiled the woman. Now, how could that have been prevented? How could you have prevented that? All Yahweh had to do is not put that tree in what Satan called the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, but what Yahweh called was the tree in the midst. We've been taught properly here. If Yahweh had not placed that there, then it was impossible for Eve to have committed a sin or gone, which is breaking the commandment of Yahweh. Because it says that where a law is not given, sin, and you follow, you know where I'm going with that. So that was the mechanism that he allowed. In other words, if he declared the end from the beginning, then he knew he was the offering that Yahweh would accept to cover the sin or to make an atonement. Just as in the types and shadows here, he gave them the law, which says when you commit a sin, which is breaking the commandments and the laws that I've given you, he accepted the lamb and the turtle dove and the bullocks for as an atonement. We know he did, because when the high priest went in, with blood and sprinkled it 7 times towards the mercy seat, on that third time, when on that third track, then he saw an appearance of Elohim right there. And then that was the proof that Yahweh had accepted the offering and that sin had been forgiven. The sanctuary had been cleansed. The high priest had been forgiven, and indeed the whole tribe of Israel, all of Israel, had been forgiven. Now, the whole Bible is written in a metaphorical language, and a metaphor is a figure of speech in the same way that a simile would be a measure of a figure of speech, where one thing represents another. You see, and so when Moses is writing or dictating what happened back here to the scribes, and he says, in the beginning, Elohim created the heavens and earth, and so on. That would be like 2:1, but then he says, now the serpent was more subtle. So he was not a serpent. You didn't draw him as a serpent up here, right? What you're drawing him as what? An angel. And in the Lucifer here is identifying where that angel came from. He came from up here, but now he's in a fallen state. But he can temporarily make it appear as though he's an angel of light once more. But if you, Dad would say, if you keep looking at him long enough, then he can't hold that. And you could catch him then and say, ah, hey, that was a clever disguise because you had me fooled there for a minute. Something like that. And in the same way that the lamb or the lion, those are, and the eagle, the eagle, calling the eagle from the east. So when you read in the margin of translators, right, it was saying what? It wasn't an eagle. It was the ravenous bird. It was an eagle, but it was Cyrus. So he was one of the, in other words, when they committed, when they see, we don't really kind of have that, but I'll just put like it's kind of like fits in here. So Nebuchadnezzar came and took down the temple, took captive the Israelites and took them into Babylon. I'm sorry? Captivity, Babylon, captivity in Babylon. Okay. And how was he able to do this? How was Cyrus, Darius, and Artaxerxes? How are those commandments and so on? They're operating by Yahweh. Yahweh stirred up, it says in there, he stirred up Nebuchadnezzar so that he would come forth. In other words, he was offended by how Israel was treating him, and because he felt as though he had the authority there to tell them as a subject state or as a vassal state. You see, in the same way that a parent can command his or her children. And it was that same type of principle that he stirred up within Nebuchadnezzar, and he came forth from Babylon and with his armies and laid waste because Yahweh permitted it. So Cyrus then was one of these, and calling the eagle from the east there. But again, he was a lamb. Now, he wasn't all, when it says that Yahshua the Messiah was the Lamb of Yahweh here, he certainly doesn't look like a lamb. And yet he's referred to as a lamb. Well, one of the reasons, of course, Dave, you know, that the lamb was but this lamb was allegorical to, or metaphorical to, or pointed to the true Lamb of Yahweh. In that same way that his disposition here in the garden and up in heaven here was that he was cold-blooded, meaning he didn't give a damn about you. He's all about him. It's all about, everything is all about him. And then he's deceitful, he's cunning, he lies in wait until you've got a weak time, and then he strikes, you see, and he's poisonous. His words are poisonous and things. So that's saying there was no snake like that in the garden. There was snakes in the garden, but they were lying down just like the lion and the lamb. They were all at peace until Satan showed up. And he showed up because he was summoned. He was summoned there, that it was time for the purpose to go forth. It was time for the man to go forth. Now, if he had not put this tree in the midst, you see, as a stumbling block, if you will, you see, then could they have gone forth and multiplied?
Yes.
Yes, they could. Yes, they could. But because the whole earth plane was like a heaven prior to the transgression, you see, there was no line of demarcation where this is the Garden of Eden and this is not. It was, the entire earth plane was just like in heaven it was. But through the transgression, that's where the angel of Yahweh could stay the way to the tree of life, or to the so that they could not partake of this tree anymore. So there was a line of demarcation created, you see, and so that's when they had to go forth and multiply, because when they went on the other side of that line, what? It's not heaven anymore. Now it's in earth, because angels don't propagate. So it has to be a true type here. You cannot propagate in the garden, though it is a physical thing. They were in heaven in their understanding, and in their, you see, in their spirit, they were in that heavenly state. This was heaven on earth, and it's referred to as the first heaven, the second heaven, the third heaven, the third being the highest, because the type shows this here, and it reflects the supernal nature of Yahweh being the Father, the Word, and the Holy Spirit, and these three are one, or Yahweh Elohim Yahshua. Now, Dr. Trotter, if you could get Exodus, the 3rd chapter. This is something that I think the schools have kind of, it's fallen by the wayside, if you will. It's not that Dr. Henry C. Kinley didn't teach it. It's just that over the years, rather than keeping everything straight and just really using the keys that he gave us to properly unlock as things that he did not have a chance to tell us directly, but he showed us in principle. So when I say in principle, that is identical with a key. He gave us the keys. Because if I say in principle, here is the blood, here, then I know that the blood was on their head. What was that? You know, that means that what happened to them was on their head. Their conscience, you see, their conscience condemned them that, oh, I should have believed Noah when he said the end, of all flesh is coming here, repent, why? Because Yahweh said he would destroy mankind here and all of the animals and everything with them, because their thoughts were evil continuously. In other words, they were disobedient. That's identical there, or breaking again the spirit law, which is the will or the commandments of Yahweh. So then these 10 commandments then that were given to Israel, those reflect spirit law or the will of Yahweh, or what he purposed, because he said, I purpose it and I will carry it out. And there is none that will prevent that from going forth. So anyone that seems to impede or obstruct that which he allowed the mystery of iniquity, which was a corruption of his original commands and the ordinances that were given there. So that shows that there were not two mysteries. There's only the mystery of Yahweh. And because he created that because he took on veils. He took on veils first of all, with the heavenly host, with the angelic realm. Why? Well, we know you, Yahweh, but what's this that you've created? And who's this down here? And what's going on? Because this was all hidden. We know now things that were hidden from the angels or the angelic, because after the day of Pentecost, he's revealed them to us here. And we're blessed of all men to know these things and be able to stand sure, knowing it, like going to the law and to the prophets here, showing all of these plates here, lining up, line upon line, precept upon precept, here a little and there a little, and it all fits together just like a magnificent novel. And he's the author of that novel, and he's declared the end of that novel from the beginning. We're just reading it from the beginning. We don't know exactly what the end, unless you're I think Victoria, yes, that's Victoria. I was going to say Victoria. She likes to read the end, and then she kind of goes back there. But Lynn knows her better than I do, that's for sure. But anyway, We love Victoria and we miss you unless you're on there. And hi, Victoria, and hope you're doing well. Anyway, so if you could read a little bit, I'm just going to where Moses at the burning bush.
Start at 1.
Sure.
Exodus 3:1.
Thank you.
Now Moses kept the flock of Reuel, his father-in-law.
Okay, now Moses then is a shepherd, right? That's an allegorical or metaphorical description. This is the shepherd right here, and he is watching over the sheep or the angels. And so here it is repeating here. Moses is being trained, if you will, is being taught by dealing with these sheep is just like the host of Israel here. And they're coming out, and he is that good shepherd, notwithstanding Yahshua, who is Yahweh with the good shepherd, if you will, or this is Yahweh with this shepherd. Here, the consciousness that is in this Elohim is more than just the picture of a man moving around. You're more than just a man moving around. You have life inside this body. And that's what actually moves you around, even though the muscles and the arms and the legs, that's how you're, well, it's the life. First, let's get back to the, first cause. Anyway, read on, please.
Now Moses kept the flock of Reuel, his father-in-law, the priest of Midian.
Okay, so then whose flock really was this then? It was Reuel, you see, or actually Yahweh here, or that's what it's showing forth was Moses then looking to him as being the source, you see, because he's the son, right? Our name board says Elohim is the son. Well, who's the father? The father-in-law. He's the law, and he's the father-in-law, so Reuel. So again, metaphors, allegories, similes that show forth these figures of speech. And many books other than just the Bible have been written this way. So we understand figures of speech and how they work. Read on.
And he led the flock to the backside of the desert and came to the mountain of Elohim, even to Horeb.
Yes, and here's the picture right here. And so when they say Horeb, now what's Horeb? Horeb is the Egyptian name for Mount Sinai. So it's the same one. So different people will say this is this, but proper names are not supposed to be changed. You're supposed to keep the same in any language. But they did not regard the Israelites as being significant where they had to consider them. They felt like they were the ruling, which they were, only because of their disobedience, and their disobedience was that's how they got into captivity, but they had a period of time that they had to serve, and it was 400 years, and it wasn't 430. Because you say, well, here it says 430, and there it says 400, and so on. So they added on, the 30 years that Yahushua or Joshua, however it says in the Bible, which is Yahshua. And we're so blessed to know just this here. This is his first coming, you see, with Israel, and this is actually his second coming. It's not like they're thinking eschatological or eschatology now with all of these Christian. They think this is the second coming right here. That's what they think when Elohim will be revealed from heaven. Well, I got news for you here. That's already happened. Dr. Henry Kinley on June 6, 1930, he declared the mystery here was ended, and then it was time. That was kind of the beginning there of the last trumpet being sounded here to, hey, you've only got so much time left, people. And it seems like, oh, well, my gosh, that was like 92 years ago or something like that. Then he, when he opened the school, he says 94 years ago, he had the vision and so on, coming up on the anniversary of that. But that's only, what's that, 2 hours in Yahweh's time. What is it? 40 years is 1 hour. If you go the 12 hours for 1,000 years is 1 day, 1 day is, So we're using Yahweh's timetable here. So it's just a little bit of time in terms of in the day of eternity. Read on.
And the angel of Yahweh
Yes.
appeared unto him in a flame of fire out of the midst of a bush. And he looked, and behold, the bush burned with fire, and the bush was not consumed.
Right. So we
And
got
Moses said, I will now turn aside and see this great sight, why the bush is not burnt. And when Yahweh saw that he turned aside to see, Elohim called unto him out of the midst of the bush and said, Moses, Moses. And he said, Here am I.
now. So this is calling about here. Now that is an incorrect translation there, because Yahweh didn't call to him out of the burning bush. He hasn't even asked for a name yet. We'll skip on down here in a little bit here. But what is happening is, see, this fire is like something else. It's identical to something else. In the eyes of the children of Israel, this was, remember how we would say, hold that thought. We would say, how come these lambs here are grazing and they're not running away? The simple answer is they can't see any fire. The fire is just like with us, it's in the eyes of the children of Israel. They follow the cloud as being a Gentile. If I was a Gentile back then, I wouldn't have seen the cloud. And you all, as spiritual Hebrews or the Hebrews people, you would have seen the cloud. You would have said, look, Barry, up there, you see the cloud? And I would have gone, huh? No, I don't, And then at night, it would have been dark to me, and you guys are walking around like, hey, there's light everywhere. Why? Because that cloud that you saw during the day, I can't even see at night because it's a vision in the eyes of the children of Israel. That's how two people can be sitting here, hear the exact same teaching. One catches on and the other does not. But we live in hopes. So we continue to go over all the same basics in the hopes that one of these days you can catch on a person. And if they do come and then their heart is in the right place, Yahweh will bless that. And he will cause your understanding to grow. And you can take some of the basic things that we teach and start to build a strong foundation, and then go right on up to where you see, as we see everything from this through the eyes of Yahweh. What did he mean by what he said? What was he looking at to say this and to do that? Well, you look back there and you look down there and you see how it all fits together. And that's what we can teach. So here he is there. So this cloud then turns to a pillar of fire at night, and it's illustrated here. So this cloud, it's not like this is not in the cloud. This is in the cloud. This is the cloud over here. It's not just, we commonly point, Dr. Trotter, over to here as this is where the cloud is. But it's the entire chart. The red boundary signifies everything, a cloud at night, the fire, in the eyes of the children of Israel. Everything here, the past, the present, and the future are all within these red boundaries. You cannot get outside of Yahweh to look back on him or to, within your own creation like that. So these are some of the principles. So when the children of Israel And I'm going to follow up. Probably going to go to when he comes and asks him for a name there in, I think, about 13. Yeah, I'm almost ready. When the children of Israel were gathered up here, they were given 3 days, right, to wash up. And then what happened was they were down at the foot of this mount. Moses, the 24 elders, Aaron, Nadab, and Abihu, all the rest of them. They were all gathered up here and they'd all washed up because Yahweh had commanded them to be there. And Yahweh spoke from the top of the mount, and he said, I am Yahweh thy Elohim. Thou shalt have no Elohim before me. And he spoke, and we can read in Genesis, we're not going to get it now, the 20th chapter, where he reads those 10 commandments. They did not see this form. The people. Nobody saw this form yet. They had to go up on the mount. They had to come up in here to see it, to see the angels, to see that angelic form. But they heard the voice and they exceedingly quake. They only heard the voice. So Moses here, he has to just hear the voice here. And it is the angel speaking. It is Yahweh. It is Elohim. It is Yahshua. None of those can appear without the other two. He doesn't go anywhere by himself. Yeah. You see what I mean? I don't go somewhere and my head stays there, you know, and I go somewhere, you know, my chest, it's kind of not feeling like going, you know, down to whatever. So I'm just going to stay here. Okay. All right, you guys. No, that's like a cartoon or something that they could maybe do that, but not in real life. So he spoke the 10 commandments. And then what happened? While those 10 commandments were being spoken, Moses was writing the book of Asher, which was the 10 commandments. And he sprinkled the blood towards the people and on the book. And he said, this is the covenant, this 10 commandments here, this law, this is which Yahweh has enjoined you unto. They were the bride of Yahweh here. He was the husbandman. And he said, if you will keep my commandments, I will bring you to a land overflowing with milk and honey, which typified heaven. I will give you vineyards which you did not plant, wells that you did not dig, cities and buildings that you did not construct. That means it's already been prepared. The work has already been done. All you have to do is just partake and be obedient, and Yahweh will be. He swore by himself, and this covenant was enjoined by blood. After that was done, then went up Moses, Aaron, Nadab, and Abihu, and 70 of the elders of Israel to this plateau. And in that state, he appeared to them in this form, shape and form, not with no form at all, in this abstract state. You see what I'm saying? And they saw him, and they said that he had the body of heaven in his clearness. In other words, they clearly saw and perceived that it was the same shape and form of a man, just like when Moses saw it in a vision here. Because Yahweh, the creation here, it just came forth. Yahweh spoke it as it were, and thus it was. It didn't take him 7 days to make this. That's a great, you know, because they don't understand, again, they can't unravel the mysteries there. And I couldn't either. So I certainly can't, as they would say, throw off on anybody. I didn't, just as the previous speaker was saying, I didn't understand any of this. I had to be shown. It had to be revealed to me. In the same way that the purpose and plan of Yahweh was revealed to Dr. Henry C. Kinley. He didn't figure it out, and he never claimed to have figured it out. What he said, it was shown to him by a vision, and he was made to understand by a revelation. Yahweh just simply he knew that it was beyond what the creature that he made here, though he was made in the image and likeness. And though dominion was given to Adam for all the beasts of the field, and to indeed the whole creation here. So mankind then was his, as the previous speaker was saying, was his ultimate creation. And that's why he saved him for last. You know, on this sixth day, the great creeping things down on the earth, the reptiles and so on, and then the beasts of the field, which were closer to man, being the warm-blooded and so on and so forth, being closer to man, and then mankind himself. And at the same time, he made Adam and Eve. But you don't see Eve until later. Just like what's the bride of Elohim? The angelic host. Right, exactly. So you don't see the angelic host in him, but they're there because he declared it from here. And so it was all in him now, everything. So Elohim was just carrying out the will of what he decided here, because now he's moved into this shape and form. Yahweh declared that too. He declared he would not create from this state because, as we know, it's abstract or without a particular shape and form. Let's go ahead and pick up, if you could, please, Dr. Trotter.
13?
Yes, I think that's probably good. Again, we're here with Moses getting the name.
3:13.
Yes.
And Moses said unto Elohim, Behold, when I come unto the children of Israel, and shall say unto them, The Elohim of your fathers hath sent me unto you, and they shall say to me, What is his name? What shall I say unto them?
Now, obviously, this is really Captain Obvious here, is that why would Moses ask Yahweh for his name and he already knew it? He'd say, in other words, why would I say, Louis, what's your name? Does that mean, Lisa, what's your name? Excuse me, I don't know. What was it? No, Cornelius, what's your name? You know what I mean? I know his name. So obviously it's intelligent to infer that Moses did not know his name. And indeed, nobody knew his name at that time. It had previously been asked for, as in other classes we've said, in Jacob and so on and so forth, but it was not yet time, because this is when he purposed to reveal his name to mankind through the man Moses. And so, but they knew Elohim, El Shaddai, El Elyon by the various titles, but they did not know him by his name of Yahweh. So he always had the name of Yahweh here because that's what he decided. But before he took on that, because again, he's abstract, when you take on a definite shape and form, a definite name, a definite purpose and plan, you're then moving from abstract, haven't decided yet, to you've made a decision. You see it now, it's happening in your brain. You're making a decision, and now here it is, you're making plans, and now you're carrying it out. So that's how all of that works. So they knew him as Elohim. And it's not God. Again, that's a mistranslation. The Bible's been tampered with so much, but we're able to correct the Bible. So the Bible definitely is a source of knowledge for us. We can take the Bible, but we've got the creation. That hasn't been tampered with, like that, and so on. So we have all of this information. So we're not just saying that we like to say that, the Holy Bible, and then, some of us say, it's not really holy or sacred like that. But there are various manuscripts and books that different people regard as sacred and holy. Because, for instance, what would Apostle Paul, or Hebrews named Saul, what would he do when he would come up to some of these altars? He'd eat the food. He would eat the food. Hey, there's some food. He would eat he would eat that, and so on. And then, but they said, hey, that's to the god of Diana, the goddess Diana, the god of Horus, or Amun Ra, something like that. So he didn't want. So if it offends, right, then I won't do it. You see what I mean? So we're constrained by throwing off or putting down or denigrating a person in that state, in the hopes that if we show respect and keep them close to us and prove ourselves that there's no harm in us, they let down their guard and they will hear us and see that the words ring true with Yahweh Elohim in them. So then it can be said, my Elohim said unto my Elohim, Yahweh is reigning in his holy temple, let the whole earth stand silent before him. I am Yahweh and there is none like me, declaring the end from the beginning, and all of those things which we know to be true. Okay, let's go ahead, please, Lynn. I'll try not to interrupt anymore.
And Elohim said unto Moses, Aya, Asher, Aya, or I will be what I will to be.
Right.
And he said, Thus thou shalt thou say unto the children of Israel, I will be hath sent me unto you. And Elohim said moreover unto Moses, Thus shalt thou say unto the children of Israel, Yahweh, the Elohim of your fathers, the Elohim of Abraham, the Elohim of Isaac, and the Elohim of Jacob, has sent me unto you. This is my name forever, and this is my memorial unto all generations.
Okay, so what he's saying there is, he says, this is my name forever and memorial unto all generations. So on that, it's not just all generations of the Hebrews. And he's not the God of the Hebrews. I think that's a very important, though the Hebrews did write down the so-called Old Testament, the Torah, and the Christians, as they would say, wrote the New Testament, as they would say. We know, we just read it today, that the New Testament is written in our hearts and minds, not with pen and ink or in tables of stone, but in the fleshly tables of our heart. And it's through the teaching, that's what we're doing now, is we're writing his law, not our law, not my law, his law in your heart and mind, so that you will be closer to him and you will know for sure he's right there to lead and guide you through every step. And where it says, and a memorial unto all generations, what does that mean? That means that he's never going to change that name. It's a memorial. I'm not gonna be one thing to Lewis and another thing to Pat, and another. So I'm not going to do that. And I'm not going to be, well, now that it's in the next age, now my name is so and so and so and so. His name was always Yahweh from before the beginning, because this is the beginning of creation right here. This is before the beginning here of creation. This is the beginning of, he's the first cause. This is the Lamb's book of life. This put on a coat of flesh and called himself Adam, fully knowledgeable, being one with right there. This is the tree of life. This is the Lamb's book of life. This is the tree of life right here. So we are certainly blessed to know this, and we wish that there were many other places that you could go. We wish that all synagogues and churches and mosques and places of worship all around the world taught the same thing, because it's the truth. It's not just a philosophy. It's the only salvation that's in the world today. And we don't want to change, Adrian and I don't want to change anything about it. He has to keep me, if he loves me, he must keep me in the way. Well, Dr. Ward, didn't Dad say such and such and such? Oh, yeah, I guess he did. Oh, thanks, Adrian. And vice versa. So if we all, as the previous speaker was saying, we work together synergistically and keep each other in the faith and in our hearts and minds, that is a power there that is not in numbers. Though we may be few in numbers, keep in mind, if we come forth with Yahweh, under the will of Yahweh, working the commandments of Yahweh, then anything can be accomplished like that. He doesn't need large numbers like that, just a few. And this gospel will be preached, and then the end shall come. When ye shall therefore see the abomination, the end has come with us. We have been translated from this present kingdom age, where everyone is, into the age of immortality. We have laid hold on immortality. Now, immortality is even beyond eternal life, because immortality means beyond the possibility of death. This is immortal. And then from that, everything has been completed, and then you are automatically in the Sabbath. You are in the rest, because everything has been completed. You have put on immortality. And from there, you can declare what shall be in the ages yet to come. I want to thank you very much for this opportunity. May Yahweh continue to love and bless you all, and stay as a family, and stay safe until the next time we come back and study with him again. Thank you.
All right. I hope everybody enjoyed tonight's class. And I hope everybody from Zoom will come back and fellowship with us this Thursday, which our next moderator will be Dr. Lewis Henderson. And all donations will be accepted by our Secretary Treasurer, Dr. Lisa Irvis. And as always, we always hold classes on Tuesdays and Thursdays from 7:30 to 9:30, and Sundays from 11 to 2:30, 1:30, sorry. My bad. Oh yeah, and the birthday dinner is this Sunday. So if anybody needs to turn their birthday money, don't forget. Yeah, please by Thursday birthday money. Please and thank you. But anyways, may we all stand for the doxology. Now to him that is able to keep you from falling, to present you faultless before the presence of his glory with exceeding delight, to the only wise Elohim, our Savior, the Yahshua Messiah, our sovereign, belong glory, majesty, dominion, and power, both for now and all times. Let us all say, Hallelujah.